welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to this Research in Practice Placement Scheme online briefing. Some of you probably won't have seen me before, but you might have heard of me. I'm Ellie Sandman. I'm the NWSSDTP placement coordinator for this scheme. So if you've had any emails regarding this scheme, you've probably got them from me. I'm also joined by Laura Radcliffe, who's our director, who you've probably seen before. And we've got two of our student speakers who are Diana and Yutza. I don't know if you want to say a quick hello if you're here.
Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone.
Brilliant. So how this session's going to work is I'm just going to quickly go through a quick recap of the Research and Practice Scheme in case maybe any of you weren't here for our Welcome Week session. I'll have a quick look at just some deadlines that you may want to be aware of. It was sent out in an email, but I always think it's best to go over them, and then a quick look at the paperwork. Then we've got our two lovely student speakers who are just going to tell you a bit about their placements, which they undertook, and the valuable experience they got from that. And then Laura is going to talk to you about our How to Glue workshop, which is going to be launching later this year in March, I believe, and all you need to know about that. So our approach here is just to basically get all of you out into a world outside of academia, kind of developing those practical skills that you might not get without the placement, really. And I'm sure you've all looked into this, so I'm not going to focus on this too much. You can arrange your placement either by developing your own placement opportunity. There'll be placements available through our website, which I'll talk a bit about in a sec, or there are ones that are approved by our external provider, so the UKRI. If you are self-sourcing your placement, the first deadline was the 15th of January. So obviously that has passed. But the next one will be submitted the 15th of March. We basically have a deadline every 2 months should you wish to self-source. Basically all that means is if we then get inundated with loads of applications, we can just prioritize. But you should hear back from us in about 3 weeks. But this isn't something you need to worry about too much at the moment. It's just, to keep in mind of when you might want to think about that. Then the other way that you can apply for our placements is through the website. So we'll have a series of placement opportunities announced every 2 months, and this is going to start on the 28th of March 2025. We do have some interested partners, so we'll advertise that there. I've then also just included this screenshot from the NWSSDTP website. This is just basically a breakdown of what those deadlines look like when applying for one of our opportunities. So we launch, you then have a month to apply and we'll review, and then 2 months later, a new batch of opportunities will come out, and so on and so on. And this should go on throughout your study with us. So if you feel like you miss a launch of some opportunities, you're not quite ready to do your placement yet, there'll always be exciting opportunities that you might want to apply for. Then just a quick look at the placement application form. So there are 2 forms based on which one you decide to do. This first one is the self-source placement application form. So those of you who think you may have found an exciting opportunity yourself and would like to do that. So for this one, you need to include a placement proposal form, which is this red circled one here. This is on our website under the Research in Practice page. And it's a pretty straightforward form, but just a bit so you know. The first thing you obviously need to do is to fill out your student details, so your name, your email, your university, and your pathway that you're on. We're also thinking about adding in a section about just telling us a bit about what you are studying for your PhD, just so we can make sure that you're fitting all the criteria within the placement. We would like a strong case of support. So this is something that clearly outlines the placement's nature, timeline and objectives, and we wouldn't want more than 1,000 words on this, so nothing too extensive, but it's just about giving us an insight about what you aim to gain in terms of your career and your personal development in this. We then want some information obviously about the internship, so one in the host organization, contact information, as well as the email address. It's not really something we'll specifically chase up, but should we need to, it's good to have the contacts there. Calculating internship costs, we do offer a bursary for things like travel and accommodation. I believe the maximum is up to £1,000, but that is all we will provide for that. So it's just good to give us a breakdown and we can approve that for you. We will need confirmation from your supervisor, so you'll need to send the form over to them, and that's just for them to confirm the support of the placement. You can talk it through with them because we do want your supervisors to be a part of your placement as much as possible, giving you the support they need, and you will need to be in contact with them throughout the placement. And then we would just need a letter of support, as I said before, from your placement provider, and this would just detail confirmation of the placement, the project, any induction that you might need, health and safety, sometimes insurance might be needed, and just to make sure that they're aware of the NWSSDTP, what we stand for, our equality, our diversity, inclusion, and things like that. And then once you've submitted the form, you send that to me and I'll look over it, I'll confirm that I've received it, and then you should then get another email from me maybe a week or so later, just confirming that all is okay and your next steps with that. If you're going for one of our tranches of opportunities, you would see on the Research in Practice page that we have a section B, to say apply to one of the suite of opportunities. The first link on there is where you would see any vacancies that we have found, and then underneath is the expression of interest form, which you would then have to complete and send to me. And it's quite similar to the other form, just in the sense that we need your student details, the project you're wishing to apply for, so based on the vacancy that you've seen on our website. We'd only need about 300 words for that. We'd want you to highlight relevant skills and experience of why you think you'd be good for that vacancy as well, just for our selection process. We'd want you to state your preference in terms of your work style for the placement. Are you going to be full-time, part-time? Are you only able to do virtual or hybrid? We're trying to be as flexible as possible with our placement and really conveying that over to our partners as well. So it's always good to say. We would need approval for your supervisor to say that they're aware that you're going for this. We'd like you to discuss it with them and just to, confirm their support. And then should you not be successful, if you maybe see another project in that vacancy list that you're interested in, you could always put that down just so we can consider you for as many as possible. And then again, you'd submit that to me. I'd confirm that I'd received it, and then myself would review however many applications we get for a certain vacancy after the deadline. I would then recommend a student or two to the partner, depending on how many they wish. And then from that point onwards, the partner will hopefully approve. And at this point, they may request an interview. It's something that some partners have maybe expressed an interest in, but it's not something we're pushing. So we would let you know with enough notice if that was going to happen. Okay, that's enough of me just talking at you. I'm going to pass over to Diana now, who's going to talk to you a bit about her placement. Are you ready to begin, Diana?
All right, thank you so much, Ellie, for inviting me today. So my name is Diana, and I'm a PhD candidate at the Department of Criminology at the University of Manchester. So, well, as I just said, my PhD is in criminology, and I did a short placement at the National Economic Crime Center because my PhD project is about the responses to economic crime in the UK, and particularly focus on money laundering. And the National Economic Crime Center, the NEC, was really useful for my PhD because they are in charge of coordinate and task the UK's response to economic crime. So the idea of the placement, the internship, was just to understand the perceptions among stakeholders and the NEC about its purpose, what are the limitations and opportunities for improvement. And I did this for 3 months, and the outcome was like producing a policy report for them. But the data that I gathered from this internship was also used for my PhD project. My placement was a bit ad hoc. Like, I met the director of the NEC in a networking event, And I talked to him about my project, and then kind of like I'd met him. After that, I come up with this idea of like doing this internship, and I talked to my supervisors about it. And then they were like, maybe we can propose them to do this like placement with them. It was the first one. They haven't done this before, so it was kind of like starting from scratch and like um, selling the idea to them and like telling them what is this useful for both of us, for them and for me as well. And it was very much ad hoc. Um, so yeah, after that, we managed to come up with a project that it was benefit for both of us, for me and for them as well, for the PhD, and also for them as an organization. And then after that, they give me the approval and so on. So yeah, I can tell you more about how we created this project together, but that was a general idea of my placement. So why I decided to do an internship or a placement? First of all, to gain inside knowledge of the practical challenges addressing economic crime, and that's why, well, the NEC was really useful for me. Also to develop new skills that are more practical and applicable to policy and practice, and also to build and expand like professional networks and meet other people as well. So what did I gain? Actually, I learned all that. So I get the knowledge. So I get in-depth knowledge of the next key role in economic crime. And this is one of the foundations for one of my PhD research projects. I learned lots of skills. So I have to write a policy report for them and then presenting the findings to a non-academic audience. So I have to stand in front of the board meeting and talk to them, which is completely different when you're writing for an academic purpose. Also, I have to develop time management skills and also prioritizing skills. It was like 3 months of a lot of work. And I expanded my professional network. So I met lots of people during the internship, talked to many of them inside the NEC, but also key stakeholders. So it was really useful for that reason. So in relation to tips for the application process, I think start early. So begin doing a bit of research, or where would you like to start, where would you like to do the internship, and just prepare the application in advance. What I did was like approach the organization. So I approached the NEC with a really solid idea of the work that I wanted to do, but I was also flexible for whatever they needed. I know this is kind of like ad hoc, and sometimes they already have the internship and you do what they tell you. But mine was more like we come up together with this project that it was good for my PhD and good for the organization as well. So for the proposal itself, so one of the important things is that you define the objectives of the internship. What are the things that you want to achieve? Explain clearly how the internship aligns with your PhD project and with your academic career or career goals. What I also include was a detailed work plan. So my project was divided in 4 phases, and I included which phases and what activities I needed to include. So phase 1, these activities, and so on. And also emphasize the mutual benefits that you will get. So what are the value that you are going to add to the organization, but also for you and your career development and PhD. Can you please pass the next? Yeah. So, and last is my advice for a student on the placement. So one of the things is just be open communication. So regularly communicate with your organization and identify who is you're gonna be your line manager early, so you can have like communications with that person. So as I said, I talked to the director of the NEC at the beginning of everything, but he was not my line manager, he was the director. So then I was like talking to a specific group of people, and then we were talking all the time, but not with him. The other thing is like stay organized, so plan your time and task effectively. So my placement was really short, so 3 months is just passed super quick. So like just be organized. What are you gonna do every single day and for the 3 months or the time you have? It was also important to discuss your expectations with your PhD supervisor. So whether you're gonna work on the PhD or not, or you're gonna simply like stop working on the PhD and tell them clearly that this is gonna happen. And also be proactive. So it's important for you to know what are your outcomes. So if you're gonna do presentations, if you're gonna do reports, when you have to do it and how, and understand what it entails, like how long you have to speak or how long should be the report, and so on. So I think that's all I have for my internship.
Thank you so much for that, Diana. That sounds really interesting. And it sounds like you had a great time.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you.
Right, am I right to pass on to Ute then? I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you, Eleanor. And thank you, Diana. Your experience was very similar to mine. So it was really interesting to see that there were other people experiencing similar things during the internship. So hi everyone, I'm Ucha and I did my internship with the WISERD, which is the Wales Institute for Social and Economic Research and Data. They are also a part of the Administrative Data Research Unit of Wales, based at Cardiff University. So I'm basically a microeconomist and I focus on policy evaluation, gender economics, and labor markets. And usually I do a lot of theoretical work and a lot of empirical work within my thesis and within my PhD research. So, right from the beginning, I had this discussion with my supervisor that I would want to do some kind of consultancy work or I would want to work with the policymakers so that I have some experience going out of my PhD so that if I want to, I can move to the industry, I can work with policymakers, and I also wanted to see the kind of theories that I'm developing and kind of work that I'm doing, what kind of real impact they make in the world. And I thought the best way would be to do an internship while doing my PhD so that I get some experience in that particular front. The placement that I took was also pretty ad hoc. So, what I did was I spoke to my supervisors and they were suggesting a few places and we were trying to get the ball rolling. And in the meantime, I saw that Wizard and ADR was hiring a postdoc for a 6 months project. And I got in touch with the director of Wizard and I said, listen, I'm not a postdoc, but I have some of the skills that you've mentioned in the job description and I can do an internship for 6 months and I can work in this project because the project that you've described in the advertisement looks really interesting and it aligns really well with the kind of work that I've already done and I want to do in the future. And obviously, I didn't have a lot of expectation for him to get back, but he did. So I worked with the skills and employability team with directly with the director there. And within the project, with the ADR team, because of how they are placed with a lot of other organizations, I also got to work with a lot of other organizations because the project involved a lot of interactions with other organizations with who are basically the policymakers or the field workers for the particular project. So, what did I gain from the internship? The first and foremost, and something that's really, really valuable for the kind of PhD that I'm doing, is the policy experience. I actually got to talk to people who make the policies here in Wales. So, I worked with people from the ADR, but I also got to interact very regularly with the Wales Center of Public Policy. Basically, the offices are in the same building, and we were working on the project jointly. So there were regular meetings with them. So it expanded by my network. But because I was working with confidential data, I also got to do the Office of National Statistics accredited researcher training, which I had not done previously. So they facilitated the entire process of me doing the training, and I got to do the training, which is a really important skill set to mention in the resume. And I think I would otherwise not have done it because you only need to do it if you're working with confidential data. And as important as it sounds, it's really time taking. So unless you're working on that data, you don't really, push yourself to get that certification done. So because I had to work on this data, I got the certification done. And I got to interact with a lot of arm's length organizations like Careers Wales and the Center for Public Policy, as I said. So those were really, really interesting. And also it just so happened that my internship also was during the time they did their annual meetings, like annual conference. So I was a part of the annual conference, and even though my project wasn't complete by then, I got to present maybe a 70% completed project during the conference, meet a lot of people. So it was really a lot of fun and exciting experience. I think the main two things that I would want to tell people who are applying for the process is, if you're doing it from the ESRC advertised, the ESRC partners, well and good. If you're planning to do it with someone else, and if you find that there is someone who might be a great fit for the kind of work you do, talk to your supervisors and don't shy out from just sending cold emails. I mean, a lot of times we think we are not going to get replies. I think you would, especially if you've met them before. Like Diana said, she met her internship organization before through a networking event. These kind of things really go a long way, longer than we think while we are doing our PhD. Also, make sure that the internship really aligns with your work, because you don't want to spend 3 months or 6 months, for my case, doing something that is very different from your PhD, because then that would take away a lot of your concentration from the kind of things that you're either an expert in or you want to work on. Also, be really clear as to what you expect. So when you're making the application, make sure that you are like continuously liaising with the mentor who is going to be with you for those 3 months or 6 months, so that when you are writing the proposal, you know exactly what you are going to be working on, and he is also on the same page, so that, because he has to fill a part of the form, as Ellie showed. So you should be on the same page, and you should and he should be, or he or she should be, completely sure as to what kind of support they need to provide you while you're there for 3 to 6 months. Um, yeah, and also, yeah, make sure that you add what additional value this thing adds, because obviously during your PhD you will be doing a lot of networking, you will be going to a lot of conferences, but what additional value this kind of networking will add to you, the industry experience, the policy experience, whatever be the case for you, make sure that you highlight that. The main thing that I would say for people who, when you are on placement, is that set expectations really clear with respect to your uh, job. You mean with respect to the workload division, like how many days would you be working for the internship? For me, my supervisors were very keen for me to do 1 day of my PhD work while I work on the internship, so that I'm not completely out of touch with my PhD thesis. So I had to make sure right from the beginning that I'm going to be working for 4 days at the internship, and 1 day would be my own research work. Make sure that you tell them how involved you want to be in the projects, whether you want to be in the meetings of only your project, or whether you want to know what all is going on and want to understand everything that the organization does in bits and pieces. So you want to be involved in all the meetings, whether you want to just analyze the data, or you want to do some policy brief, you want to write some blog, whether this will be a part of your PhD thesis or not. So all I'm going to say is be very clear as to what outcomes you want to achieve, because 3 to 6 months, as Diana said, it's not a long period of time. So clarity will take you farther than you can think. Uh, yeah, that's about it. It was a really fun experience, and I mean, genuinely thank ESRC for, letting us have this, because I do believe that it's a very unique kind of an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great. So yeah, I think it's just worth saying that there obviously are some really valuable experiences that you can get from this research and practice placement. Obviously, we have said in our handbook that your placement cannot be directly linked with your PhD work and your thesis, but that's not to say that there isn't relevant experience that you can get from your placement, as Diana and Ukta have said. So thank you so much for talking, girls. That was amazing. Thank you. I'm going to pass on to Laura now, who's just going to speak to you a bit about our to glue workshops that are going to be coming up soon. So thanks, Laura.
Obviously, as everybody's mentioned, it's really important to kind of be aware or be thinking about some things before you go into your placement, such as making sure that you have those, expectations of what you want to get out of the placement, so that you can really maximize the benefits of your placement. So as hopefully you've already heard, we are launching a research in practice placement training program for you all beginning in March, and I'm going to go through that in a little bit of detail now. We have partnered with How to Glow, who are an expert consultancy company in basically collaboration, working with others, how to work with others across kind of diverse experiences, diverse organizations, research and practice. So they are, really well placed to support us. And we have worked with them to develop this bespoke program just for our DTP students who are going to be undertaking placements. So the aim of the workshop is to make sure that when you go into your placement and you have this one-off opportunity, that you really, enhances your collaboration, and that you can really go in there with the right tools and skill set to really make the most of that opportunity. Obviously, you can go into a placement and not necessarily get out of it what you want to get out of it, which is not what we want. You could go in there and not have really thought through exactly what you want to get out of it, and then it makes that more challenging. And also, we don't want to send you in there without the right tools to really think, to really be able to collaborate with other people effectively and to make the most of that experience. So we have developed with How to Glow 4 online workshops, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute, as well as some additional resources. And these are going to be led by Dr. Sabina Strachan. So she will be your facilitator of these workshops. She has a PhD herself. She also talks about how she has done a placement during her own PhD quite some time ago. So she's been on the other end of this as well, has been an experienced facilitator, and worked in, we've got an outline of her experience, but she's worked in so many relevant roles and worked with a variety of different DTPs and organizations and universities, focusing on collaboration. So she's going to bring with her such a vast knowledge that we really hope is going to be useful for all of you. So this is the structure of the program. The main component of these 4 online workshops that we want you to get the dates in your diary as soon as possible for, and do your absolute best to attend them, just because we believe they're going to be so valuable for you before you enter your placement. And because they're designed specifically to help you make the most of your placement experience. As well as these 4 online workshops, so there will be some asynchronous resources available. So all participants will receive supporting skills packs for each of those, attached to each of those 4 workshops. And that means that obviously you can use those in the future as well. There's also a self-led component to the program. So as well as the 4 online workshops and skills packs, there's also an additional kind of standalone resource, which I'm going to talk about as well, which you can then go through in your own time or whenever makes most sense for you. So workshop 1 begins on the 12th of March at 10 a.m. So I hope you've got that in your diaries. This is the first workshop, and the focus is on developing collaborative strategies and knowledge exchange skills. So this is about, making the most of those collaborations. How do we collaborate with others in effective ways? You're going into potentially a very different kind of workplace environment with different kinds of people. You've only got 3 months. How do you hit the ground running? And there's also going to be techniques in there for enhancing team collaboration and tools for effective knowledge sharing. So there'll be these tools developed on collaboration that you can then take with you into your placements. There's a more detailed outline of each of these workshops. I'm going to run through them quickly today, but I believe everybody's got the detailed outline. Have they, Ellie, already, of the workshops?
It's all on the website, and I'll link that at the end.
Thank you. Yeah, so do check out the details on the website. Workshop 2 will be on the 2nd of April, this time in the afternoon. We've tried to split the different dates and times so that it's not always the same day or time of the week, just in case one of those is prohibitive to anyone attending. So hopefully you can attend as many as possible. But we do recommend attending all of them. So workshop 2 will be focused on how to navigate different workplace cultures. So this means that, if you're going into an organization, the culture might be quite different to maybe previous places you've worked, or certainly to academia, which can be very different. I know all too well myself when I go and work with organizations, and it's very different culture to academia. Usually, the slow pace of academia and the fast pace of organizations, just one of those things that you have to grapple with. So this workshop is going to support you to very quickly identify different organizational cultures and how to align values with workplace environments. So it's going to be thinking about the organization's values, your own values, and alignment between those. And it's going to equip you with a diverse range of tools to help you navigate different cultures effectively within professional settings. So it's going to look at things like, is your organization in a certain sector or industry, and how might you navigate those different cultures to make sure that, there's no barriers there and you're able to tackle that when you begin your placement. Workshop 3 is then at the end of April, so on Tuesday the 29th of April, and this is focused on how to identify your transferable skills and also development opportunities. And this very much speaks to some of the advice given by the 2 students who kindly just came and spoke about their exciting opportunities and placement experiences. Really, you want to be able to go into your placement being aware of what your transferable skills are. And this is a key area that many PhD students sometimes aren't aware of, how transferable the skills they're developing during their PhD, and of course leading up to as well, but during their PhD, that would be valuable outside of academia. So this session is focused on you developing an awareness of your specific transferable skills and how they're transferable to a diverse range of workplaces and contexts inside and outside of academia, so that you are well aware of that going into your placement, and also helps you to think about what are those skills that you would like to develop further. Why do you want to do this particular placement? That will help you with your application for the placement as well. What are the skills that you've got that will make you suitable for that placement, and what are the skills that you really want to develop and why? So just this session's focused on really making that clear as possible for you. And some of the things that you'll focus on are strategies for collaboratively designing development opportunities that maximize engagement. And therefore, if you're working with an organization, maybe to put your own placement opportunity forward, this will help you to have the tools for that kind of co-designing that opportunity. So it's an opportunity that the organization will gain something from, but it's also an opportunity that you are going to gain something from, which is really important. And then the final online workshop will be on the 20th of May in the afternoon. And this is for focusing on how to innovate. So this workshop is going to focus on creative thinking and innovation skills, often, important when you want to hit the ground running on a particular problem that an organization is looking at. You need to, have those creative thinking skills ready, and that can sometimes be a little bit intimidating. So in this workshop, we're going to have practical techniques to enable you to be able to apply those creative thinking to solve workplace challenges. And there'll be tools that you can take away again that mean that you can come and look at this problem from different angles, and the tools created are going to help you to be able to do that. So as I mentioned, as well as these 4 online workshops, each of those is going to have a supporting skills pack. And this is really important because you're going to develop these tools, these ideas, these tools, these skill sets during the workshops, but we don't know, different people will be doing their placements at different times. Some of you might not be doing the placement, for a little while. And we want to make sure that you can refresh your memory on those skills and tools, and that you can have them at your fingertips at a time when you most need them. So it might be a year later you're doing your placement and you think, oh, what was that toolkit that helps me to develop that collaborative potential or to solve those problems creatively. And this makes sure that you've got those skills packs and guides with you so that you can refer back to them. I will mention an important point about that at the end as well. So all the workshop generated content as well will be saved for you to return to. And that will include things like live sketch notes and feedback and response polls. So you'll have access to all of that as well. But the sessions themselves will not be recorded. So you won't be able to return to a recorded session, but you'll have all of the skills and resource packs surrounding the sessions. And then finally and importantly, as well as those 4 workshops and the associated skills pack, we've also got this additional standalone asynchronous communication skills pack. So this is kind of for your kind of self-directed learning in your own time. And this is focusing on communication skills. And so the key, there'll be 3 kind of modules or components to this skills pack. One focused on effective 2-way communication. And that's about exploring effective techniques for productive but also adaptive communication, so adapting to different communication circumstances. It's also got a toolkit to help you identify your own and others' communication needs and preferences so that you can tailor those discussions accordingly, so that you can be aware of different communication preferences. This could also help hugely outside of the placements experience, I think, just in general life and also in discussions with supervisors, potentially. I'm thinking about those, the agreements, supervisor agreements that you've been probably looking at recently, and thinking about, really identifying how your own communication needs, what works best for you, but also being able to discuss that with other people who might have different communication needs and how you reach some kind of agreement about what works best. And it will also cover active listening strategies. So there's techniques to foster active listening that make sure that you're really hearing what people are saying and you can develop a clearer understanding in the moment. So a really valuable skills pack that you will receive by the end of workshop 3. So it comes to workshop 3, you'll receive this skills pack as well. And it's then up to you whether you want to work through that skills pack before the final workshop, workshop 4, or whether you want to leave it until after. It's basically at your own pace, but really useful resources for you, I'd say, for the placement and also beyond, certainly. And that's pretty much it. Just a quick note on accessing those resources. So as I've said, it's really important that you have access to those resources. And this is what we've been discussing with How to Glow. We need you and want you to have access to all of the resources on an ongoing basis. So you'll be given access to all of those resources that we've talked about and the bespoke tools through a Google Drive folder that Sabina, the facilitator, will share with you. Then you will only have access to that for 4 weeks after the program's finished. So you'll have access from it from the beginning, from March, and then you'll have access until the 20th of June. But you can't then download that content to retain it. So please remember to download and save that content for yourselves personally before the 20th of June, when that folder will disappear. So this is what we've had to discuss and agree with How to Glow. So that's just a point to note. Also, feedback is going to be gathered throughout these workshops, because obviously this is the first year that they've been run. We've tried to tailor them as much as possible, working with How to Glue, but How to Glue are also really keen to hear your feedback. So please do provide feedback so we can improve future iterations of the program. And then Sabina, How to Glue issue certificates, and they will issue you a certificate of attendance of your research in practice training program, saying you've completed it if you are able to attend 3 out of the 4 workshops. So that's a message from the facilitator. And other than that, I hope that you can attend all the workshops. Please enjoy them. They sound fascinating. I wish that I'd had access to something like this during my PhD, rather than stumbling through and trying to learn as you go as an academic, trying to work with organizations. I think it's a fantastic opportunity. And enjoy them, and good luck with your placements as well. I'll stop sharing.
If you wish to do those, here are some of the dates and the titles of each workshop. All this is on the NWSSDT website, which you can access through this slide on this hyperlink. We will be gathering attendance for these workshops via a Microsoft form, much like the one that you completed for this workshop. and we can then communicate with you through that as well. As I said, all of this is on our website.